everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to the Exercise of the Week with our exercise coordinator, Charlie Merlot. Charlie, I think you got something crazy for us today.
I do. So this is another one of our non-traditional exercises.
Right.
So one of those, what in the world are you making me do?
Exactly.
Type things,
I wanted to title this section, probably use a bad word in there, but why would you do this? You know, exactly. It's kind of in this territory.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. So the loaded carry, carrying an object, we're going to talk about, what's some history behind it, benefits, tips. So we're going to kind of dive into that today.
Sure. The loaded carry. Now, that may not be in your repertoire, but hopefully maybe we'll add it today.
That's right. And if you train here, you'll eventually find out.
Absolutely, absolutely. These guys love coming up with different things like this, but there's some real benefits to it.
Right, and so starting with the history.
Okay.
Similar to the leg press, this had roots in strongman. So, again, brute strength. How can we pick up the most amount of weight and show off how manly we are? So
exactly.
Again, when you think about a loaded carry, all it is you're picking up heavy weights and seeing how far and how long you can walk with it.
Right.
And the term that was coined, farm boy strength. I'm sure you've heard of that before. There's this kid who grew up on the farm, never lifted a weight a day in his life, but he'll go in a weight room and show everybody up.
Of course. Well, and I tell you what, you also got to you may have to go back and years ago in history, people used to talk about that about the Nebraska football team.
Yeah, the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, the Cornhuskers been in that way. So that's been a while, but yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. So farm boy strength, it's a real thing, and so that's kind of the history behind it. You think about a farmer's carry is a typical exercise that is a loaded carry, and literally, you're holding two heavy objects and one in each hand, and you think about a farm boy carrying 2 bales of hay or 2 buckets and walking with it, and over time, that strength just begins to accumulate, and so that's kind of where it started.
Okay, so well, actually, my beliefs were correct then, because I was like loaded carry, and I was thinking first thing I think of is farmer's carry, and then when you were going to go to the history, I was like that had to have had some sort of beginning there, but it made it into the strongman world.
And so, look up some strongman carry videos, and you want to be impressed. The things that they carry is just, it's truly,
on purpose.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But yeah, and so, and the reason I didn't want to just talk about the farmer's carry is there's so many varieties of carries out there, and so we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I was like, I want to give the wide description, I just don't want to narrow it down. So, but, going into some of the benefits of, a loaded carry.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got a video of it, don't we?
Sure, yeah, let's show that first.
Let's check it out. This is what just kind of your basic loaded carry.
Yeah. We'll do farmer's carry for this.
Awesome. All right, check it out.
We are back with another exercise of the week. Today we are covering the loaded carry. This is a great exercise to train strength or conditioning in a variety of ways, depending on your goals. You want to grab a weight that will be challenging enough while maintaining good posture. Let us know if you have any questions about the loaded carry.
Okay, great. Now that's a basic, loaded carry most people would think of. But you're saying there's tons of variations from that.
Yeah, so farmer's carry, that's kind of your tried and true basic carry. But then, going into, some other types of carries, what's some variety that we could look at?
Sure.
There's multiple variations. One is a suitcase carry. So it's probably what you think it is. Like you're just holding one weight rather than 2, you're holding 1. So the weight is offset. You're trying not to let your shoulders drop. Try to keep it even shoulders.
Right.
And then, same thing, walking with it for either a set amount of time or a set amount of distance. Another one is an overhead carry. So and you could do that with both arms overhead. You could do one arm overhead.
Right.
And then last but not least, we talked about the goblet carry, or the goblet squat, excuse me.
Yeah,
but that same position, you're holding a weight out in front of you, and it targets similar muscles that the goblet squat does by holding that weight out in front. And so those are just a few variations that you can throw in with the different loaded carries.
Sure. And not only, that's we could be here all day. We have the bars that are connected to basically a part of a telephone pole out there that we use for a loaded carry. But it may sound strange, but there's some major benefits for this. Talk about a little bit about what muscles are we hitting, what are we doing, whatever, and then there's practical applications also.
Most definitely. So. Again, depending on with any exercise, what your goal is going to kind of determine how you go about doing things. And so if your goal is strength, you're going to want to do a heavier carry for less distance. You know, you're picking up a heavy weight and carrying it, but it's not going to be as long. But this isn't only good for strength. You can also use it for endurance.
Sure.
So using I'd say a moderate weight. You know, I'm not going to say a light weight because if you're not feeling it, you know, then you're wasting your time, right?
Exactly.
So,
I put it in my pocket and walked across the room.
Yeah, like when people go, I did a loaded carry. I carried, 2 pins across the room. You know, it's like, no. So a moderate weight, relatively challenging, but something that you can carry for longer distances. So, I mean, some people will go on walks, holding these, and they'll go, quarter mile of loaded carries, and it's just weighted vest is another loaded carry.
Yeah,
Think about that. I was just thinking, putting a weighted vest on and going for like a ruck, or a ruck walk, like that's a loaded carry in of itself.
Very much so.
Strength, endurance, there's different end goals that you can go for, and that's just something to think about. What is my goal? Let that dictate the direction you head as far as how you're going to program the exercise.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah.
But and then as far as muscles that this trains, this is a tried and true full body exercise.
Right.
First thing that comes to mind is obviously your grip. So
exactly.
if you want good grip strength, if you you desire good grip strength, this is probably the number one thing to do it.
Sure.
Because there's so many ways you can train it, and so obviously your forearms, your upper body, just holding on to that weight, traps, heavy traps.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want strong traps, definitely do some loaded carries.
And that's beside you. That's goblet. That's overhead. That's single arm. That's heavy trap involvement.
I mean, this exercise is great for posture in general.
Period.
I mean, I again do this exercise with all of our athletes, or all of our clients that I train, athletes, seniors. It doesn't matter because this is super functional too, right? I mean, you think about carrying your groceries in from the car.
Sure.
Personally, I'm one of those guys that I don't make 2 trips.
Yeah.
I get one trip. You can ask my wife, Katie. I take one trip from the car to the kitchen, to the house with the groceries. I don't come back for more. So I load those things up in my arms, and I mean, if I didn't do loaded carries, I wouldn't be able to do that. So that's just
true. Exactly.
That's a personal story that you can relate to.
But that we jest, but that is so true. I mean, how many people do that? In fact, I've talked about this when we talked about rotator cuff on podcast. The incidence of rotator cuff damage went through the roof when they came up with the plastic bags because people were putting somebody on their arm. This is a regular practice.
Yeah.
You ladies, y'all do it too. I know you do.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
That's right.
Yeah.
So again, those muscles that are worked, but I mean your legs, your feet. I mean, we could go on and on and on about the muscles that are trained.
A lot of core engagement.
A lot of core, core is a huge one.
Yeah,
core is huge, and again, this is great for all fitness levels. So it doesn't matter who you are. Anybody and everybody should be doing loaded carries at least once, twice a week. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
And some other benefits, muscular coordination. So this is a gait pattern, so a walking exercise. It's interesting because it's isometric in the sense that you're maintaining a position.
Yeah, you're not
with
doing
a lot
curls
of muscles.
with the weights or anything. You're just holding them.
Right, you're just holding it, but also you're walking. So it's a mixture of an isometric movement with your gait, and so it's a combination of the two, which is it's great. That's why it's so good.
Right.
And it's a challenge for your brain with balance, especially if you're doing some of those offset carries, because your brain is trying to figure out where you're at in space. This weight is pulling you over, so you're having to consciously think about resetting your posture, and so I mean the benefits are just they're numerous. That
entire system having to work together, because that's what's amazing about it. If you see somebody doing this exercise, you don't think that there's not much going on there. There's a tremendous amount going on because of the brain having to make so many changes in the body to counteract the weight. But besides just the stress of the weight, but we always talk about this whenever you work agility, dexterity, or balance. You're working the same position part of the brain. You're working the cerebellum. And so this is heavy cerebellum. Even though it doesn't look like it, it is heavy cerebellum work because of what communications you're having to get to so many different parts of the body. Think about it. Even if you just go down and you turn around with the weight, that's a whole different bunch of kinetics that are going through that whole nervous system. So it's really like you said earlier. It's almost the full body.
Yeah. Kind of going off what you just said. So a while back I did just some study, and loaded carries. And I was kind of just looking at different things. And one thing I found that they do use in a rehab setting is walking in a figure 8, kind of what you were talking about, turning around.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, you're familiar with this. As you change directions, the left brain, right brain is working, and they're coordinating together. So as you're rounding that curve, you're kind of switching back and forth, and it's really great for patients or clients who've had strokes. Trying to retrain those functions and rework those motor patterns. And so the figure 8 is a great way to if you're not wanting to just go in a straight back and forth, train that figure 8 pattern as well.
Yeah, definitely so. And this is again, yet another one we could be here all day on, talking about all the different variations of loaded carries you can do. Not only the weight, but like you said, the pattern. In fact, I hadn't even thought about that until you brought it up about, of course, the figure 8 and what's going on there. And I've seen you do that with countless clients out here and having them switch, doing the lopsided carry, carrying one kettlebell, and they're doing like that figure 8 pattern, and then you have them swap the dumbbell to the kettlebell to the other side. And it's amazing the difference that'll make. And when some people have to take a second, when they do the swap. So fantastic for balance. There's so many different ways. So many different ways we attack the body. Period. But one of the areas that we work a lot on, we get asked work a lot on, is attacking balance. And this is a fantastic way to do that. And everybody needs that. From your youngest kids that we've ever had to our best athletes, and definitely all the way up into our seniors, especially rehab. And it's a fantastic exercise. For now, if you want to know why do I do that, well, hopefully now you know. Did we cover it all?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
like I said, if not, we're going to be here for another hour. So. Listen, it may seem like crazy exercises. We're going to cover a lot of those as we've already done some. In fact, our first one that we did was a little crazy. But it's amazing when you start putting this staff with this education, and when they start delving into the different parts of the body, fully understanding not only anatomy but fully understanding kinesiology. This is what results. It does seem like crazy exercises, but they're the different ways that we can actually improve your body, improve your mind, improve your balance, and actually help you live your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.